So let's talk about Oppression Olympics. A person whom I'm not going to name has brought up the idea of Oppression Olympics to be held against the left. Supposedly, we on the left victimize ourselves and compete against each other to see who suffers more and who deserves more resources. In the modern day, when we have to compete for the most basic necessities, we automatically feel that we have to compete in sickness and disease as well. In the modern capitalist society, we seem to compete for everything, including our titles. So we oftentimes want to be perceived as more hardworking, or we want our suffering to be appreciated and compensated for at a larger scale than others. So I think that Oppression Olympics is a term that can be helpful in understanding the modern capitalist conditions. Because when you have to compete for basic necessities, you start feeling bitter towards people who you perceive as contributing less. So the notion that someone's suffering has to be above and beyond what ultimately is felt by everyone else is very harmful and degrading, because we cannot and we should not compete in pain. Everyone's pain is unique, and everyone's pain deserves to be attended to. We cannot say this person deserves their pain because they did such and such thing, because this dismisses the actual necessity for help. By saying or by pronouncing this person guilty of their own suffering, we somehow ignore the fact that this person still needs help. As a person who used to feel guilty for my own pain and suffering, I greatly sympathize with anyone who suffers. Whatever your pain is, you are worthy of help. If you feel like you cannot express your pain because someone else is hurting more than you, please hear me. You deserve care, attention, and resources. Someone else's pain does not fix yours. No one is going to benefit from this outlook. We all should help each other no matter what conditions we're in. If we are privileged, we should become aware of our own privileges. We should realize that if we have extra resources, well, we can use them for someone else's good instead of feeling guilty and not trying to help. Feeling guilty is never helpful. It's going to bring you more pain and suffering, and that's it. It's a totally worthless endeavor to feel guilty, let me tell you this much. No one's pain should be dismissed on the case of someone else being in more pain. This is ridiculous to diminish one's pain in order to acknowledge the others. Let me give you an example. Let's say a child lost their favorite toy. And this is an incredibly traumatic experience for the child, because this is their first time encountering a loss. They've never lost anything of importance before that. So imagine if people around that child tell the child that this is an insignificant loss and they should be grateful that their parents are still alive, that they still have a roof over their heads, and that they're not sick with some terrible disease. Therefore, they should not grieve the loss of their favorite toy because it's just a toy. So see how in this example, for the child, it is their first major loss. They have not learned yet to cope with losses. And the fact that they have all the other privileges still present does not erase their loss and the feeling of pain that they may encounter. So it is silly to tell a child that their loss is insignificant in comparison to the losses of others, because to this child, this is the most traumatic event they have encountered so far. And it is very insensitive and cruel to demand the child understands all the intricate patterns of loss that an adult may have. I think this simple example illustrates how everything is relative. However, relativity of someone's pain does not erase it. If we could sit and will our pain away, I suppose we would, but we can't. So instead, what many of us who are suffering from chronic illnesses, who are suffering from wage slavery, what we ask is not even for compassion. We ask for equity and we ask to be heard. We don't want extra privileges and extra resources. We want resources to be able to survive and sustain ourselves. And what can appear as extra to some will be the most basic necessity to those who are ill. So let's stop displaying unnecessary cruelty towards those who may need more than others. And let's throw away the notion of oppression Olympics and the people who insist that these kind of things are inherent to the left. Let's tell them that they're wrong, that this actually describes the current situation and this is harmful to us now, and we can change it and make the world a better place for everyone despite their abilities or inabilities.